Who will Edge and Bianca BelAir pick to be their opponents as the Royal Rumble winners at WrestleMania 37? Hello everybody, this is John for WrestleScope TV. Thank you very much for tuning in. Before we get going, gotta do the regular stuff here. Don't forget, please subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. Also do the same thing if you are listening to the audio podcast. Here on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Also hit the notification bell so you find out every time something brand new is posted here on WrestleScope. For all of you watching or listening to this, please follow me on all my other social media. You can follow on TikTok at WrestleScope TV, at TV_Wrestle on Twitter, and at WrestleScope on Instagram. Click on the link in my bio, the link tree, and you can connect to all the different social media. You can see the Amazon wish list. You could go to the Patreon page, which in the coming weeks is going to have some more information in there as well. Working on that. Greatly appreciate everybody that has been following on TikTok, all the new people on Twitter and Instagram, and especially the new subscribers here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Before I get into the main story here, talking about Edge and Bianca BelAir, obviously we have to talk about the very sad news coming out a couple of days ago of Butch Reed, the Natural Hacksaw Butch Reed, passing away due to heart complications just a few days ago at the age of 66. Those of you that were wrestling fans in the 80s and 90s are very familiar with Butch Reed, his work in the territories, a lot of work in the NWA and WCW, and some time in the WWF. Well known for his singles career, but also tag teaming with Ron Simmons in the Team of Doom. Just an amazing athlete in the ring. Fantastic on the microphone, a guy that really should have gotten even bigger as a single star than he did, but unfortunately it never happened. Over the course of the last couple of years, he had 2 massive heart attacks and just was never able to fully recover from it. So we send our condolences to the family and friends of Butch Reed, again passing away just a few days ago at the age of 66. And on that note, we are now going to switch over to one of the big news stories of the week. Obviously, it was the Royal Rumble, and the winners, Edge and Bianca BelAir, both of them going very deep. Edge starting out at number 1, even though he was originally announced as number 2, but I digress. And Bianca BelAir coming in number 3, both of them winning the Royal Rumble and now getting their pick of who they're going to get to wrestle at WrestleMania. I think Bianca BelAir, it's a very obvious choice. I think everybody knows that it is just earmarked for her to take on Sasha Banks. And I've heard numerous people complain about the segment that Bianca and Sasha and Carmella had in the ring on SmackDown on Friday night of, why didn't Bianca just announce? Why didn't she just announce it? Well, they're trying to stretch it out. It's all about TV ratings. It's all about views. It's all about YouTube views and viewership. And they're trying to stretch things out. I've said on numerous occasions in the last week on TikTok and on Twitter that they have got to announce a decision this coming week. This is the key week, because as of the recording of this show, we are 2 weeks out from Elimination Chamber, and nothing has been announced as of yet. According to WWE.com, there is supposed to be a major announcement concerning Elimination Chamber on Monday Night Raw. Speculation it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus for the WWE Championship. We also could hear about what's going to end up happening with what would assumed to be an Elimination Chamber match to determine the number 1 contender for whomever Edge does not pick, and the same thing on the women's side for whomever Bianca BelAir does not pick. Will they have a third match? There could potentially be 2 women's Elimination Chamber matches. One for a number 1 contender, the other one for a title. I don't know. We will see. But things should start shaking out this week, because they really need to have the 2 weeks build. This is a big mistake WWE is making, having pay-per-views so close together here, where they could have stretched this out. With moving WrestleMania back a couple of weeks, they could have put Elimination Chamber out for maybe 5 weeks from Royal Rumble and have that smack dab in between. But then again, you're having that longer stretch of time between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, and maybe they don't want that. But now they have to fast track what they're going to be doing going into Elimination Chamber. And the way booking has been going lately on a lot of things, it's been shotgun, it's been a mess. Things continue to be ripped up by Vince and, you know, thrown in the wastebasket. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, early speculation is Drew versus Sheamus. Could we potentially see another Roman Reigns versus KO match? We saw KO come back out again. I honestly thought that this was over. I really thought that feud was over after the last man standing, but they need to give Roman something to do between now and WrestleMania. So we shall see how things shake out. But again, going back to Bianca BelAir, most likely she is going to pick Sasha Banks because there's the immediate tie-in between those two. And she talked about it. There is no real connection between Bianca and Asuka. I think they may have had a couple of matches, or at least a match back in NXT, but that was a few years ago. There's really no tie-in between those two. Edge, on the other hand, I actually like how they've been playing this with him. Teasing with Drew, teasing with the winner of Finn, Pete Dunne, at the next NXT TakeOver, and then his interaction with Roman on Friday night. I like where they're going with that one. Conventional wisdom says Edge is going to pick Roman Reigns. It's going to be spear versus spear. That would be a good match. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Roman versus Drew, Drew versus Edge, but they're not going to have babyface versus babyface. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have to build up another heel to go up against Edge at WrestleMania, and there's just this thing in the pit of my stomach that's telling me it's going to be Brock Lesnar. That Brock Lesnar is going to come back. And we will see a surprise of Brock Lesnar either at Elimination Chamber or at Fastlane, where he comes out and attacks Drew and is looking for his redemption against Drew McIntyre. We shall see. The WrestleMania card, I guess Roman's opponent has been written down in permanent marker already now. It hasn't been announced. Again, I'm thinking it is going to be Edge. But that's many of the reports, many of the rumors going around is that Roman Reigns' opponent, they know who it's going to be. Everything else is still kind of up in the air at this point in time. But we shall see. With a 2-night show, again, WrestleMania, they need to pack a big punch. And especially if they're going to have 10 to 25,000 fans in attendance. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you happen to catch this before the Super Bowl kicks off, I know this is getting posted on YouTube right before everything gets going, and I apologize. If you see this before the Super Bowl kicks off and you weren't planning on watching, if you're a wrestling fan, I would at least tune in for a little bit today, even if you're not interested in the game, because this will give you kind of a highlight of what WWE potentially could be doing at Raymond James Stadium, because Raymond James Stadium is where Super Bowl is being hosted, and that's where WrestleMania is being hosted. So it's a good idea to kind of take a look at this and see what's going on, because this is what we potentially could see in some way, shape, or form with WrestleMania coming up in under 2 months. We're at, 61 days? Less than 60 days, I think, now before WrestleMania. So we shall see how things shake out here in the next couple of weeks. Sorry, my mouse is acting up here on my computer. Hopefully we will know... Oh, I was putting up the wrong logo here, darn it. Gotta love when things go wrong here on the show. Always so much fun. Some more WWE news to talk about. You know, some other big stuff that kind of came through this week. It was kind of a surprising week, as we heard about 2 releases. One was not a shock, really, at all. The other one blindsided everybody. At the beginning of the week, we heard about the release of Lars Sullivan and that he was actually quietly released back in January. And with everything that was going on with him, I'm not going to delve into the details of everything that was happening. There have been many other reports over the months of things that happened with Lars Sullivan, but his time on the WWE main roster has been just riddled with issues, and some of them physical, some of them mental, and his past coming up to bite him in the rear end. And finally, it just kind of came to a head, and it seemed like it was actually a mutual decision. Lars he was supposed to actually show up at a taping a few months ago, I think it was back in December, and just decided that he just didn't want to do professional wrestling anymore. And it's understandable. He has some mental health issues going on with just anxiety and panic attacks, and he's got things from his past that he needs to deal with. I am making absolutely no judgment at all against Lars Sullivan, the person. Lars Sullivan, the character and wrestler, I didn't like the direction they were going, but that's besides the point. Lars Sullivan, the person, and I'm not going to talk about his real name. We're just going to leave it alone. He has things he needs to work through, and I sincerely hope he gets the help that he needs to be able to deal with the mental health issues that he's dealing with, to deal with the panic attacks and the anxiety, and that he can go on and just live a normal life. I'm going to talk in my hot take about some things that really bothered me, about things that people have said about Lars Sullivan. He made mistakes. He admitted to it. But I will talk about that at the end of the show. Steve Cutler, on the other hand, everybody got blindsided by this one. The report came out a couple of days ago that Cutler was released by the WWE. Like, okay, the last we saw of him, he was part of the Knights of Corbin and with Wesley Blake. And we hadn't seen him on TV in a while. And the story came out this week. There was actually 2 reasons he was fired. One, he was in the doghouse for contracting COVID-19. I guess he was one of the people. New Year's Eve, he was going out to parties and everything with his girlfriend Deonna Purrazzo from Impact Wrestling, and he contracted COVID-19. And reportedly, Vince McMahon was PO'd about this. And then he no-showed a taping a couple of weeks ago, and that was it. He had been backstage, he had been working on things, but there was just a lot of heat on Steve Cutler. And so he is now gone from the WWE. Rumors and speculation going around that this could be the beginning of multiple releases, but you really can't put Cutler and Lars Sullivan in the same category. Sullivan, there was other issues going on completely separate from this, and it sounds like it was kind of a mutual decision. Cutler, on the other hand, it was not. Will we see more releases coming up? It's possible, but I think it'll hold off again until after WrestleMania, just like we saw last year, which is unfortunate. As far as no competes, Dave Meltzer posted, Lars Sullivan does have a no compete. We don't know what it is, but he's not going to show up anywhere else. He will not show up anywhere else in 2021. If he does, I'll be shocked. Cutler, on the other hand, has the standard 90-day no-compete, so he would not be available to go anywhere else until the first week of May. My speculation is he would end up in Impact Wrestling with Deonna Purrazzo. We shall see. What does this mean for Wesley Blake? What does it mean for Jackson Riker? Because all 3 of those guys were in the Forgotten Sons together until they were all broken apart when the whole thing happened with Jackson Riker and his pro-Trump tweets last year. They were taken off of TV. Cutler and Blake were really kind of punished in a way for what Riker had said, and we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully, I would love to see Blake and Murphy get back together as a tag team. I would love to see that happen because they were really good in NXT. But we shall see what ends up happening with that. So, let's talk more about WWE here. We are going to talk about some changes possibly coming. We know that they ended up having to leave the Thunderdome in the Amway Center, and now we find out that potentially they could end up having to leave Tropicana Field coming up in March. Tropicana Field, which is the home to, I believe, it is the Florida Marlins, the Miami Marlins. They may end up having to leave Tropicana Field if the Major League Baseball season ends up starting in March. Hopefully that will not end up happening, and it may get pushed back. Not that I want the Major League Baseball season to get delayed or anything, but we shall see what ends up happening. WWE has already had to move once because of the Amway Center in the NBA season. They've had to move out of there because of the Orlando Magic, and now with Tropicana Field being up in the air, where could the WWE end up moving to? Could Raymond James Stadium be a home for WWE for the Thunderdome? Possibility. I would think they would almost want to have some sort of a facility with either a retractable roof or an arena building. Who knows? As more details come out, we shall see. This is another Dave Meltzer report from Wrestling Observer Online. We shall see what ends up happening with this. But WWE looking like they're going to have to make changes again to the Thunderdome and having to move. So we saw that they had to take a week off. I think, they did a week in the Performance Center, I believe it was, when they had to leave the Amway Center because of the time it took to be able to move things out of the Amway Center for the Thunderdome. So it's possible, if they're able to stay until the week before WrestleMania somehow, some way, and they've got that a little bit of extra time there then, well, actually they really wouldn't have the extra time because you go from SmackDown on Friday night to Raw on Monday night, unless they're able to possibly do Raw at Raymond James Stadium, which would be kind of interesting. Maybe do it with a smaller crowd, do it with a couple thousand fans in attendance at Raymond James Stadium. That would be kind of cool. But we shall see more details on this story to come very soon. One other big story I want to talk about here. This is going to be a short episode today, but another big story I want to talk about, and I was super excited about this one, was the announcement just a couple of days ago. Actually, this was on Thursday, I believe it was. This announcement came out. This was the day after Kenta showed up on AEW Dynamite. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Kenta showing up and attacking Jon Moxley. The announcement that New Japan Pro Wrestling has signed a deal in the US, UK, and Canada to air a weekly show starting this coming week on Thursday nights on ROKU TV. This is going to be fantastic. I am excited because I unfortunately have not been able to really see any New Japan Pro Wrestling content, and it's going to be exciting to be able to finally see this come over to ROKU TV here in the United States. A great 1-hour show spotlighting a lot of the great things they have going on, and there's going to be a small, kind of a condensed catalog of programming that's going to be available on ROKU TV from 2020. So this is really going to give a chance for American wrestling fans and UK and Canada to be able to see what's going on in New Japan Pro Wrestling and really get caught up. And this is going to be huge, considering the partnership now that the door has been opened with New Japan and AEW. It has been announced that essentially a deal is in place for them to work together. Now, are we going to see the biggest stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling coming over to AEW? No. Because of what's going on with the pandemic and with quarantining, we're not going to see the biggest stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling coming over. Kenta, it was an easy move because, one, they've already got the built-in feud between him and Moxley, and Kenta lives in Florida, so it made sense. What's probably going to happen is the young lions of New Japan Pro Wrestling, these are the guys that are getting their start over there, trying to make a name for themselves, they will be the ones that will be sent over en masse to AEW, and will spend time on Dark, we'll get matches on Dynamite, they'll be able to quarantine over there for a couple of weeks before they show up on TV. And hopefully in 2022, if things finally open back up again, then we will start seeing some really big things between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And there's already been reports that there are guys in AEW that want to go to Japan. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. Moxley needs to go back there because he is the IWGP United States Champion. Lots of guys that want to go over there. This sets up many, many dream match scenarios. But this is just, this ROKU New Japan Pro Wrestling deal is just step number 2 in what is going to be even bigger. And I have to say, what Tony Khan and AEW are doing right now, it is absolutely amazing. You look at this last Wednesday night on Dynamite. They had stars from AEW, Impact, NWA, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. All contracted wrestlers from 4 major companies, all on the same show. How big is that? I would love to see somehow Ring of Honor getting involved in this, but with Sinclair Broadcasting owning Ring of Honor, I don't think it's going to happen. I've been kind of on the fence on, is this a good thing? Is this not a good thing? I still think that there could be issues within Impact Wrestling. If AEW talent gets pushed too much in Impact. But this could potentially be a game changer in the world of professional wrestling. And it will be very interesting to see how, if at all, WWE reacts to this. You know, Triple H has been very open about the the localization of worldwide professional wrestling with, you know, NXT UK, NXT Japan, NXT India, NXT Mexico, NXT, so many different things. But unless they are actually creating the entity or buying up the entity, they're not partnering with anybody else. Could that change in the next couple of years? I don't know. We'll see. I think the days of the massive super shows like we saw back in the 80s, I don't think it's going to happen again until AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling pull the trigger on it. We shall see. All right, I do want to end with a hot take, and this one is something I've been thinking a lot about the last couple of days, and you're going to see a different side of John here. This is John, the wrestling fan from back in the late 1970s through generations of territories and the WWF growing big, WWE versus WCW, and, the independents, and now this. There has just been an outbreak lately of hatred from so-called wrestling fans, people that say they are fans of professional wrestling. If you are a true fan of professional wrestling, it's okay to have an opinion against someone else. If you don't like the character, if you don't like the storyline, if you don't like what the wrestler is doing on television and in the ring. But people are taking it to a whole new level now with social media. It's not just in wrestling. We see it in every facet of life now. But professional wrestling fans, and I put that in air quotes, have taken it to a whole new level with the amount of hatred that they are spewing towards other wrestlers. I think back on Nia Jax. Now, I have been outspoken about Nia Jax as an in-ring performer, that she needs to go back to the Performance Center and work on her skills to become a better wrestler before somebody seriously gets hurt. This is not hatred on Nia Jax as a wrestler. This is my opinion on she needs to do this. I'm not saying she needs to be fired. Okay? I don't want to see anybody get fired. I've been fired from jobs before. It sucks. And in a pandemic world we live in right now for professional wrestlers, it's tough. Lars Sullivan, we talked about him earlier, when everything was going on with him, after the panic attack, and then the homophobic and racist comments he made years ago on a bodybuilding forum. Inappropriate, don't approve of it. He admitted to it and apologized for it. Issues that he had with appearances in an adult film. Okay, again, don't condone it. He admitted to it. But so much hatred was thrown towards him in that direction. Jackson Riker. Take your politics wherever you will. But he came out and openly, he was a pro-President Trump at the time. He was a supporter. people threw him under the bus. Velveteen Dream has made numerous mistakes. We know the Marty Scurll situation. We know everything going on with the Me Too movement and so many other things. So much hatred. Tessa Blanchard. Obviously, all the issues Hulk Hogan has had over his career. It's okay to dislike somebody. It's okay to have an opinion against them. But the amount of hatred thrown at people, it's so easy to sit there and, pick up your keyboard and start typing words because you're never going to see that person face to face. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I don't care how old you are, young you are, where you're from. If you wouldn't have the balls to say something to somebody's face, how dare you type it in a message on social media? And especially if you don't, okay, my personal social media is my name. I do that for a reason. One, I'm not going to sit there and make up some stupid name, Wrestling Guru 9405 or whatever. Yes, for this channel, I have a branded name. But my personal is my name. I stick to it. My opinions are mine. Okay? But if you're going to sit there with a fake profile picture that's not you and a made-up name and you're going to spew hate and flames and whatever else at other people, you don't deserve to be on social media. Okay? And then the people, another thing I want to talk about, and this is directed towards the guys out there that think it's okay to stalk and harass a female wrestler. I don't care if it's ones on the level of Alexa Bliss and Sonya Deville, down to younger talent on the independent scene or whatever. Even if it's any woman, it doesn't matter who she is. If you don't have a personal connection with her in her personal life, have met her and actually can say you know her, not that you're a fan of her, that you follow her, that you actually know this person, you have absolutely no right to go out and sit there and stalk, send messages, send packages. I forget who it was. I just saw the story. Was it Peyton Royce? I think it was Peyton Royce that tweeted that somebody sent a package to her house. Somebody she didn't know. Somebody she knows gave out her home address so some creepy stalker fan could send her a package. You want to send fan mail to somebody? That's fine. They appreciate fan mail. Send it through the organization they work for. Send it through WWE. Send it through AEW, NWA, Ring of Honor, whatever it may be, Impact Wrestling. Don't send it to their home. Unless you are unless you are family or a personal friend of that person, don't do it. I'm sick and tired of so many negative stories that I keep hearing in the world of professional wrestling that make professional wrestling fans look like a bunch of creeps, like a bunch of stalkers, like a bunch of racist and homophobic idiots. Okay? It is the small segment of wrestling fans. And though they're not even wrestling fans, I don't even want them associated with wrestling fans. Okay? I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Because I'm sick and tired of it happening. If you are one of those people that wants to spew hatred, and I'm not talking, fun, I don't like your character, Baron Corbin, I think you suck. No, that's not it. They're used to that. I'm talking threats, wanting them to die, wishing bad things would happen to them, whatever. You're not a wrestling fan. Stop watching it. Go do something else. And if you are a stalker of a woman's wrestler, this is going to come wrong from a guy of a Christian background, but I'm going to say it because it's on my heart right now. There is a special place in hell for people like you. You will get your judgment down the road for that, for doing stupid things like that. Leave these women alone. Hot enough of a take for you, folks? I'm sorry. I'm usually a much more positive person. I apologize, but I had to get that off my chest. I really had to. I'm going to get my blood pressure down real quick here. I think I'm okay now. All right. Please leave your comments on this. And if you're gonna be throwing hate at me, you know what? Throw it at me. You can leave your comments. You can send it on any of my social media here. You want to throw hate at me? Message me on Instagram or tweet me at TV_wrestle on Twitter. Go ahead and throw it at me. Please, feel free. All right. Hopefully next week's show will be much more positive. We had a lot of bad news here. You know, my hot take, Lars Sullivan, Cutler, the Butch Reed passing away. A lot of bad news. Hopefully this coming week will be filled with much more good news. We shall see. I'm working on some other things. Hopefully we'll have some more updates for you folks coming up here on WrestleScope. If you happen to end up watching the Super Bowl today, please, Kansas City Chiefs. I don't want Tampa Bay. I don't want Tom Brady and the former 24/7 champion Gronk to win. Please. That's just my hope. Thank you again, everybody. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to it, hit the notifications bell. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please like it and follow on whatever you're listening to. And again, follow me on all my social media. I'm John. This is WrestleScope TV. Have a great wrestling week, everybody. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. AEW's main event this week is going to be absolutely awesome. This is WrestleScope. We'll see you next week.